Good evening and welcome to the evening news for today, Thursday, June 16, 2022. I am Jemima Holmes. Thank you for tuning in. Now let's take a look at some of the lead stories tonight. President Ali announces major plans for housing, agriculture, and mining in Region 7. Billions more will be spent to directly assist Guyanese, says VP JAGDEO. EXXONMOBIL'S investment in Guyana to exceed $6 trillion by 2025. Girl dies by suicide after being raped. Mother cries for justice. And over $200 million in losses as fire destroys several stores at Grove. Now for the news in detail. President Dr. Irfan Ali has said that while Bartica has the potential to be transformed into a major logistics hub for the mining sector, this cannot be done without the expansion into other industries, such as agriculture and services. Vanu Manichand has the details.
Addressing residents at a community outreach in Region 7 on Wednesday, President Dr. Irfan Ali recognized that Bartica is primarily a mining community, but contended that it must not be limited to this sector alone.
You have the potential to become a major logistics hub for the mining sector. In order for you to become a major logistics hub for the mining sector, we must be able to produce food and we must be able to provide services. Whether it's banking services, machining services, mechanical services, we need to create a service hub in Region 7. And we need to do it in a very structured way, because you already have a lot of investment in Region 7, catering for the services industry, but it's not structured.
Moreover, President Ali pointed to the looming global food crisis and Guyana's role in combating this. To this end, he underscored the need for all the regions in the country to be a part, and mentioned some of the initiatives that government wants to implement in the Kiyuni Mazaruni.
We need to work with Region 7, with the school system, with young people, with single parents, to use technology and improve our ability to produce more food in this region, so that it can become not only an agricultural activity, but an economic and financial activity, improving disposable income to the families. Our task as a country and as a government is to put more disposable income in the pockets of people. Once we put more disposable income in your pocket, you will have more resources to live higher standard of life. And this is what adds to building prosperity.
Moreover, he noted that Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa would be in the region soon to conduct an assessment on expanding the school's shade house program.
Imagine we have school feeding program in all the schools. Imagine if every school now, we can have single parents who have children in those schools, doing 1 or 2 shade houses in every school, and supplying the school kitchen with the produce from those shade houses. That is how you build economic opportunities. That is what you call the trickle-down effect of investment from government. And guess what? We don't have to imagine it anymore, because I've instructed the Ministry of Agriculture to come here next week and do an assessment to see how we can expand the school shade house program here.
Reporting for the Evening News, Vanu Manichand.
Teachers and nurses will be among hundreds of residents from Bartica and surrounding communities in Region 7 who will benefit from the construction of some 500 homes. This was announced by President Dr. Irfan Ali on Wednesday during a visit to the mining town, where he also committed to extending government's housing program to several indigenous communities as well. Here is Vanu Manichand again with the details.
Prior to the meeting held at the Bartica Community Center, President Dr. Irfan Ali stopped at several schools and health facilities, during which teachers and nurses requested to be beneficiaries of the government's housing program.
We have just gotten 120 acres of land, and we are going to work with the people in Bartica, the skilled men and women in Bartica, the small contractors in Bartica in Region 7. Let me say Region 7. The skilled contractors in Region 7. Very soon, before the end of August, the minister is going to come to meet with you. because we want to use that 120 acres of land to build at least 500 homes here using the labor and the contracting service right here.
According to the head of state, this initiative would have tremendous spin-off benefits for the community in a number of areas.
You know what that would do? That would not only deliver housing, that would create tremendous opportunities in the value chain for hardware resources, skilled labor, transportation services. All of this will be created with this one project.
Meanwhile, during an interaction with the residents, several leaders from various indigenous communities in the region requested that housing programs be extended to their villages as well. These calls were made by Tushaus of Batavia and Karau, among others.
Last year, or the first year in government, we requested some low-income housing from the Ministry of Housing, and we are asking the government for some low-income housing in Karau. As most persons would know who follow us on Facebook, we have a village-owned sawmill, so we could partner with the government to provide this housing in Karau. As you know, indigenous peoples are one of the most poverty-stricken people in the country, so we are asking to be equal with the coast in terms of the housing program.
I'm so pleased. You know, when I was Minister of Housing, I was trying to get our Amerindian communities to come to this point where you can have centralized service and development of housing schemes and so on. I love the idea of using your local sawmill for the low-income houses, not only for your communities, but let's have a conversation on how we can support other communities also.
Housing Minister Colin Crowell, who attended Wednesday's outreach along with other cabinet members, would be returning to the region in the coming days to advance these and other initiatives the President committed to during the outreach exercise. Reporting for the Evening News, Banu Manakchand.
Far from backing down from spending money on the Guyanese people after being criticized by the political opposition, Vice President JAGDEO has assured that billions more will be spent by the People's Progressive Party civic government to directly assist Guyanese and put money in their pockets. Find out more in this Rubasinarine report.
Vice President Dr. JAGDEO explained on Wednesday that government will continue to consult with different interest groups and be responsive to their needs for financial assistance. An example of this is when the government met with fishermen and afterwards announced a $150,000 cash grant per fisherman in Guyana.
So we met with the fishermen, we met with people from the hinterland, met with the farmers, so we keep going. We're meeting with all the folks. The president met with people with disability. So as we meet with different groups, we try to extend the help through consultations.
He further explained that the $5 billion set aside for relief measures in Budget 2022 has not been exhausted. Additionally, he said that while government had hoped for improvements in the supply chain in other countries, there are some that are still in lockdown. This has a trickle-down effect on countries like Guyana.
The money has not been exhausted as yet. And so there are different groups that are being targeted, but the resources have not been exhausted. What was the...
Can you say what else the government is exploring?
Oh, okay, because this is an ongoing thing. We're constantly like we recently removed the tax on lube oil. We didn't 14%. Whilst we remove everything on gas and diesel, right, the 50% excise tax. We then started looking at what else people use in vehicles to transport. We found lube oil, we removed that. So it's an ongoing thing. As we find items, we are going to try to adjust prices downward.
JAGDEO said the government is trying to supplement income at a household level so that persons can address their cost of living issues. According to him, the government's hands are tied when it comes to the price for commodities like cooking oil. He explained that Guyana is in a slightly better position than other countries since it consumes some of what it produces. He noted that other countries are almost entirely dependent on imports.
For the first time in more than 20 years since EXXONMOBIL, through its subsidiary ESSO Exploration and Production Guyana Limited, began operating in Guyana, the company has registered a profit in its Guyana operations to the tune of 132 billion Guyana dollars. According to the company in its statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, its 2021 revenue increased to 254 billion, while its profits came in at 132 billion. This, according to the company, reflects higher production volumes and higher oil prices. Amar Prasad reports.
EEPGL's share of royalty expenses when it comes to production in the Stabroek block has been pegged at $5.8 billion, an increase of 184% versus 2020. Its overall expenses were also up versus 2020. This has been attributed to increased production costs and higher depreciation, both of which were driven by increased oil production. A fact sheet on the company's 2021 figures stated that leased expenses were primarily related to the Destiny FPSO lease and were down by 15% versus 2020. In the statement of financial position at the year-end 2021, assets totaled $1.3 trillion, an increase of 30% versus prior year, and mostly reflecting substantial incremental investments in the Stabroek block. The company's equity increased 25% versus year-end 2020, driven by earnings and additional equity contributions, which underscores EEPGL's strong financial position to meet its ongoing obligations to the government and people of Guyana. According to EEPGL Vice President and Business Services Manager Philip Rietema, the length of time it took EEPGL to turn a profit exemplifies the level of investment that must be made in such operations before seeing a return. He said, I quote, "Our total investments to date total Guyana $1.3 trillion. With our partners, it's over Guyana $3 trillion. And the plans we have in place out to 2025 will take investments north of Guyana $6 trillion. In our statement of financial position, you'll see these assets reflected in property planning and equipment." End quote. Rietema further explained that the company's equity has increased by 25% to Guyana $875 billion, driven by the company's profitability and also investments from parent companies. The Vice President also emphasized the importance of Guyana to EXXONMOBIL. EXXONMOBIL has said it anticipates at least 6 projects offshore Guyana will be online by 2027, with developmental drilling having been recently started on the second one, the Liza Phase 2 project. For the evening news, Amar Prasad.
Guyana Elections Commission Chairperson retired Justice Claudette Singh has reasoned that any focus on investigating actual occurrences during the 2020 elections by the electoral body would be outside the scope of its power. However, she noted that, should the intention of a proposed review be to consider if there are, in fact, potential weaknesses in the processes employed by GCOM for the conduct of elections and to propose improved methods or processes for future elections, then this can and should be undertaken. Justice Singh made these positions known in writing following a request made some 5 months ago by the opposition commissioners that an internal investigation be launched into the events of the 2020 elections. In her decision, the GCOM chair said it was important that a distinction be made between a review of GCOM's processes in effectively conducting an election and an investigation into what actually transpired during a particular election. Coming up, blood transfusion services to be introduced at all regional hospitals, and as demand grows, government sources additional land for more houses at Williamsburg. Do stay with us, more news ahead.
Your child needs nutrients every day. Enfagrow has DHA and iron, which supports your child's mental development. Enfagrow has components which cow's milk does not contain. Support your toddler's growth and complement their diet with Enfagrow. Let's fuel the wonder.
This product is not intended to be a substitute for breast milk. Mental development depends on various factors such as stimulation and adequate nutrition. Commercial cow's milk does not contain DHA but contains calcium and other nutrients.
Get in the game, get in the game, get in the game with Buster, play.
Get in the game with Buster. Win a full gaming setup, Xbox X, gaming chair, gaming speaker and headset, or any of over 60 weekly prizes like Oculus Quest 2, Mini 2 drone, Nintendo Switch, Xbox X Series. Just purchase any bottle of Buster, Turbo, Altitude, Classic, or Viva and look for the code on the bottle. Then visit Buster Instagram and Facebook at Buster Guyana for more details.
Looking to bring your dream home to reality or simply taking on a home improvement project? Then National Hardware Limited is where you should start. Let us put that touch to your home. Choose from over 1,000 Berger Paint original hues for any surface. We are known for our trusted brands such as Westinghouse, Philips, Satco, Rubbermaid, Pyrex, Gibson Home, and so much more. National Hardware Limited, your do-it-best store, located in downtown Georgetown and industrial site Rheinveld.
Your child needs nutrients every day. Enfagrow has DHA and iron, which supports your child's mental development. Enfagrow has components which cow's milk does not contain. Support your toddler's growth and complement their diet with Enfagrow. Let's fuel the wonder.
This product is not intended to be a substitute for breast milk. Mental development depends on various factors such as stimulation and adequate nutrition. Commercial cow's milk does not contain DHA but contains calcium and other nutrients.
Gold mining can be expensive if you don't have the right tools. Mining requires engines that can pump high volumes of water and slurry, the most tried and tested of which are Doots engines. Doots engines are among the most reliable in the world. Where can you get them? At your #1 industrial solutions provider, Sylvies. We have them in 2 to 6 cylinders, ranging from 23 horsepower to 80 horsepower. Most miners use Doots engines because they're lightweight, use less fuel, and require less maintenance because they are air-cooled. So what are you waiting for? If you can't make it to our 31 High and Hatfield Streets Georgetown location, we can deliver. Give us a call on 227-6226 or WhatsApp us on 623-7755 or visit our website sylviesonline.com. Sylvies Industrial Solution, proudly serving Guyana for over 4 decades.
Welcome back. You're watching the evening news. A fire of unknown origin this morning destroyed 2 buildings that house 3 business operations and a home, resulting in over $200 million in losses. The incident occurred at Station Street Grove, East Bank, Demerara. One of the buildings housed the popular Rex Reed paint store in the lower flat, while the upper flat was the home of the business owner, Lennox Reed. The other building, which housed 2 business operations, was also destroyed. An investigation has been launched to determine the cause of the fire. A 14-year-old girl has died by suicide after she was raped by a 30-year-old taxi driver on her way to school. The accused has since been remanded to prison, and the girl's devastated mother is crying for the man to face the full brunt of the law. Our Berbice correspondent, Andrew Carmichael, has the details.
30-year-old Amir Inchinali, a hire car driver of Sandreef Albion Quarantine Berbice, was on Wednesday charged by the police with rape of a child under 16. Inchinali appeared at the Reliance Magistrates Court in Berbice before Magistrate Rabindranath Singh, where he was not required to plead to the indictable charge and was further remanded to prison. Inchinali is accused of raping the 14-year-old schoolgirl on June 6, 2022 at Albion Quarantine. The victim, who has since been identified as Hemoti Indar, ingested a poisonous substance shortly after the ordeal and succumbed last night at the Port Morant Hospital, where she was hospitalized. The Evening News understands that on June 6, the teen was waiting for public transportation to go to school when Inchinali, who was operating a hire car, allegedly picked her up and, instead of taking her to school, took her to a lonely area where he raped her. After committing the act, the taxi driver reportedly dropped the victim off at the said location he picked her up from. The teen was hospitalized for 10 days, and according to her mother, Tejwati Hardial, on Wednesday she was informed of her daughter's demise.
25 past 8 and now it's calm. I carry my ID card and go. I carry my ID card and I go to hospital. I see them pull a sheet and a blanket and cover me that and I run and tell me some that to die.
Meanwhile, when the case was called on Wednesday, Police Prosecutor Corporal Fiona Simpson told the court that the police are in receipt of a dying confession from the teen. However, she did not say what the teen had confessed to, but the mother of three is calling for justice for her daughter.
I really feel sad because she is a second one. And she on my right hand, she doesn't help me to do everything. If we go shop, anything we buy, anything she... And a little one, if we go to school, she just carry my school, go back from meeting the school. He said, Mommy, me and go to meeting, and not allow me to go. She going to stand up for him. So it's really hard to pass through this right now. I need justice for me daughter because she wasn't not buying them and carrying me daughter. They should do one thing like this.
Inchinali will remain remanded until the matter comes up again on July 12th at the Albion Magistrates Court. Andrew Carmichael, The Evening News.
The Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation is aiming to expand its pharmacy department to better assist the public. Shane Marks tells us more.
The Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation is examining the possibilities of expanding its pharmacy department. This was revealed on Thursday by pharmacy manager Claudia Hines at the pharmacy booth display in observance of Commonwealth Pharmacists Day.
Yeah, expansion is always a plan, and we're working to have expansion in the different areas. More so ops in Guyana, we have planned to have expansion as it relates to not basically outpatients, but inpatient patients on the ward, to have ward pharmacists. Space is still a big issue, so we're brainstorming as to where we're going to have expansion as it relates to outpatients, as it relates to the hospital.
Hines also noted that the department is working on having specialized pharmacies throughout the hospital.
What we can do, we can have different areas that we see specialized patients, and those are some things that we have planned for the future. Have patients to be seen in their specialty area. So instead of them coming all to pull up in front of the main pharmacy, they will be seen in there. In addition to that, we have 4 satellites that are operational, which is pediatrics. So those patients don't come to the main pharmacy. We have psychiatric satellite. So all the psychiatrist patients will be seen there, in addition to the outpatient satellite that patients from outpatient is seen there. So all of those patients are not seen here, but they are seen at other locations.
Today, the hospital held a Candid Pharmacy Expo, which saw the likes of Ansa McCall Trading Limited and BPI Guyana Inc. showcasing their pharmaceutical products at their booths. Shane Marks, The Evening News.
The novel coronavirus pandemic, existing for more than 2 years, has directly impacted the number of persons donating blood in Guyana. Now, the Health Ministry is focusing on having blood transfusion services at all regional hospitals. Details in this Rupasina Ryan report.
Pre-COVID, some 12,000 to 14,000 units of blood were donated every year. In 2021, only about 9,000 units were reportedly contributed to the blood bank. Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony attributed this to persons avoiding health facilities during the life-threatening pandemic circumstances.
People coming forward to do voluntary donation dropped a little bit. We are encouraging people, and we have several campaigns to increase the blood donation. So we're mindful that we had a decrease, and we're working actively to see how we can get more people donating. Generally, people were avoiding health institutions. So now that we are returning to some semblance of normalcy, I think we'll get back people coming to donate.
Blood can be donated at the Georgetown Public Hospital, New Amsterdam Hospital, West Demerara Regional Hospital, with plans to expand to the Soddy Hospital and Linden Hospital complex in the future. The strategy is to have blood transfusion services in all regional hospitals while continuing mobile operations to other areas.
Rather than just having a few fixed points and doing a lot of mobile work, mobile teams going out to collect blood, we are increasing the amount of fixed points where people can come in and donate, and at the same time maintaining our mobile work activity where we can go to special areas and be able to collect blood.
Rupa Sinarayan, The Evening News.
Housing Minister Colin Crowell has said he is satisfied with the quality of houses constructed at the new housing scheme at Williamsburg, currently in Region 6. However, with the growing demand and backlog of applicants for house lots, additional lands have been sourced to extend the project. Our Berbice correspondent Andrew Carmichael reports.
In November last year, contracts were signed for the construction of 100 houses at the new housing scheme in Williamsburg. Already, 28 have been handed over to their owners, and within 2 weeks a similar amount is expected to be handed over. According to Housing Minister Colin Crowell, while construction of the 100 houses is nearing completion, he visited the scheme and is satisfied. He said that those who have already received their new houses are also satisfied. The two-bedroom flat units measure 20 feet by 30 feet, that is 600 square feet, and cost $5.5 million, inclusive of the cost of the land. The houses are being categorized as low-moderate. Nevertheless, a portion of land to the north of the scheme has been acquired, and infrastructure is currently being put in place for the construction of an additional 59 houses. Meanwhile, at Fort Ordnance, the new phase of that housing scheme is moving apace.
They are at foundation stage, and that is on the construction is ongoing. And in fact, we're 30 persons, we'll be allocating to 30 persons today. Those are persons who are pre-qualified. And so that is another 100, similar to what you have at Hampshire. You asked about Corriverton area. When we got in, they're close by. You had the 75 new housing area that we started where allocations were done. And then you had a small portion at the back of number 79. That is all. Those persons have been shown their land. But in the 75 area, we have had to reconfigure the front because you would have seen on the macro perspective the announcement by His Excellency the President of a new hospital here in Berbice. And so a new hospital will be constructed, so we have to reconfigure the front in terms of the redesign, but the rest of the scheme remains. And in fact, I should let you know we're actually engaging with Gaisuko to be able to acquire the additional land at the back of that new housing development for future allocations.
When the PPPC government took office in 2020, it initiated an aggressive housing program. To date, 1,200 homes are on the way for low to moderate income families, as well as young professionals across Regions 3, 4, 6, and 10.
We have under 6,000 pending applicants in Region 6. That is what our database shows. And within the next 2 years, we're looking to satisfy those persons, those pending applicants.
The Housing Ministry is aiming to fulfill government's mandate of providing 50,000 house lots by year 2025. Since returning to office in August 2020, more than 13,000 new house lots were allocated to persons countrywide. Andrew Carmichael, The Evening News.
And now for a look at the bridge reports.
The Demerara Harbor Bridge is scheduled to be closed on Friday, June 17 at 4 hours for a period of 1.5 hours. Meanwhile, the Berbice River Bridge is scheduled to be closed on Friday, June 17 at 6 hours 20 for a period of 1.5 hours.
Taylor to captain Guyana Amazon Warriors in Women's CPL, and 4 teams looking to take charge at unfinished business. Details of these stories and more in the Sportcast, sponsored by Macorp, coming up on the other side of the break.
Shh, it happens. Your septic tank is full. All the waste from your toilet goes into your septic tank through the sewage line. When your tank is full, the two most common indicators are an overflowing tank and an overflowing toilet. It is recommended that Sevon's Waste Management empty your septic tank every 2 to 3 years to avoid any embarrassment. And before you can say, shh, it's gone. Call Sevon's Waste Management today at 218-1455 or 218-1156.
Superbet safety tips to help fight COVID-19. Practice regular washing of hands with soap and water or alcohol-based solution. Remember to always wear your mask whenever in public areas to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Clean and disinfect high-touch surfaces daily with soap and water or detergent. Practice physical distancing by staying at least 6 feet away from others. Superbet cares about you. Let's help keep each other safe.
Your child needs nutrients every day. Enfagrow has DHA and iron, which supports your child's mental development. Enfagrow has components which cow's milk does not contain. Support your toddler's growth and complement their diet with Enfagrow. Let's fuel the wonder.
This product is not intended to be a substitute for breast milk. Mental development depends on various factors such as stimulation and adequate nutrition. Commercial cow's milk does not contain DHA but contains calcium and other nutrients.
Here's what's happening on Waterloo Street at John Lewis Styles during the month of June. Shop for Father's Day and you could win an all-inclusive trip for two to Arrow Point Nature Resort. Buy any men's suit and get a free tie, or buy any men's pair of shoes and get a free pair of socks. Traveling this summer? Buy any luggage set and get a free travel pouch. Visit us on Waterloo Street for more choices and better prices. John Lewis Styles. Simply different.
Ultra Lubricants, the leading lubricants for tropical conditions, has been serving you for over 40 years, extending the life cycle of your vehicle's engine by protecting it from wear and corrosion, removes impurities, and reducing frequent vehicle oil changes. Ultra Lubricants is for every market, from two-wheel light vehicle to trucks, construction, agriculture equipment, mining activities, and boating. Ultra Lubricants, world-class lubricants for tropical conditions. Distributed by Industrial Supply of Guyana, Inc., and available nationwide.